Assalamualaikum. Good morning, everyone. I wasn't an entrepreneur until I was introduced to several readings that talks about what entrepreneurship is about. So that changed my life to someone who really want to design my life around entrepreneurship. So I became the project manager of a very huge client in 2015. How do I do that when I have no background? Is basically just really by learning from other people, Googling and see how people design apps and so on. So ask people mentorship and so on and so forth. So it's a lot of on the spot learning, but when you face the client, I just pretend to know everything. Like, so that's actually a memorable journey, forced me off my comfort zone, which I still remember till today. One setback that I can share with everyone is there was a point when we wanted to fundraise and then the investor pull out. And unfortunately, things are not so beautiful. Kind of in movies, they're not paying ourselves for a few months. Yeah, so that's a big setback. But with the support of my wife and the family, so we continued. And alhamdulillah, the light of the end of the tunnel only comes after the fourth month. And then lastly, close off with 3 top skills. I will just give you a link to everyone. This video by Y Combinator. He is basically Michael Siebel. He shared what makes the top 10% of founders different. Is basically the point about good founders really focus on executing. And when they say they will execute, they will really complete the job. So that's actually one very important fundamental about entrepreneurship. The second one is PMF, product market fit. And then the last one is basically the internal why. I think all the entrepreneurs later will be able to attest to the difficulties or the challenges that you're going to face in the entrepreneurship journey. So that have a very strong why, and you will go very far in the entrepreneurship journey, inshallah. So I think that's all I can share. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So how to say, one of the biggest misconceptions is that to start a business you need money. That's not untrue. But it is also, it doesn't mean that if you don't have money you cannot start. So, and that's where my journey started. It wasn't very clear from the very beginning until one of my brothers were like, oh, okay, I have a business and I can't run it anymore and I need somebody to be the face of it and I need someone to run it. So he's just like, okay, can you run it for me? So especially when I graduated with second major in business, my mom was like, oh, your brother asked you for help, you better go and help because you know how to do business, right? You learn in school, right? So you better go and do it. So that was when I think what attracted me most to the journey was the freedom of choice. And people understand what freedom is when we are talking about entrepreneurship. It's not so much freedom or free time to do whatever you want, but more of freedom to choose how you want to complete a work, freedom to choose your own goals, freedom to be able to chart your own path and also move towards it. It doesn't mean that you get more time to hang out with your friends and family. There's always a word of caution that entrepreneurship is not for everyone. I hear that quite a number of people here are new to this or are just trying to test out waters. So I really recommend for you guys to give it a try because you won't know if it's for you until you actually try it out. And that way, I actually started with money. My first business started with $300 only. What sets the great entrepreneur from someone is actually the level of execution. If you are serious about this or you basically want to give it a try, it's a lot of rejection. You'll face a lot of setbacks. You also face sweet achievements. You'll hit some milestones. But most of all, you will also face challenges. And you will not face all of this unless you execute. People talk about having a good strategy, having a good brand, having a good business plan and stuff like that. All of that are important, but they're all nothing without execution. When you do execute, you are going to face criticism. And this is natural to every business because the people who are going to critique you are your friends and family, people who see that you maybe are struggling a bit or they see that you're faltering. The harder you go at it, the bigger the project will be. So every time you go for a challenge, go for a bigger one, go for a bigger one, go for a bigger one. So it wasn't planned, but it's kind of like practice. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. I had a great time listening into Muhammad and Jumaya's story. So it's really, putting me on a next level to up level the stories that I'm going to be sharing today. Okay, so I'm sure when you are here joining in into this conversation of future of entrepreneurship, I think the first question you want to ask yourself is it easy to run a business? That it's not easy. If you really want to start a business, quit your job right now. And then, it is not the reality. The reality is that there's a lot of ups and downs, and the downs are often more than the ups. It means that you are improving, you're learning, and you're trying to get yourself into the position of becoming better, a better version of yourself, to move yourself to the next level. So when I started my business back in 2010, that was the first time I actually established a business. My business was in the handmade stationery business. And I started that with a lot of passion. I wanted to do a lot of hands-on thing. I wanted to do something that was creative. But one of the biggest learning milestones, I guess, in a way, for this business was, number one, I discovered my passion, that I was really, really good at things that are graphic design, marketing, hands-on. These are all my strengths. That passion alone doesn't pay the bills, and we have to acknowledge that too. We have to admit that. It took me some years for me to really accept and admit defeat. And that was when I realized that that business couldn't have grown or couldn't have scaled in any way that I wanted because it wasn't profit making. I realized, okay, I need to create a business around my skills, around my passion that I can make profit on at the same time. I look at within my own resources. I maintained my MacBook at the time, as well as a camera. And that was how my photo booth business started. And throughout the years, with that, it kept shaping and it kept evolving to become what it is today, where we serve Fortune 500 companies. It's really shaped it to the next level. I realized there are not a lot of women in the industry. I started to go on the ground and spoke with a lot of people, a lot of women especially, to understand what is their setback in starting a business, what is holding them back in moving forward in starting a business, not just in Singapore, but across Southeast Asia. And I found what was interesting is that a lot of people didn't want to start a business because of the lack of a family support. So I guess this is something that I wanted to shape, I wanted to change, I wanted to see an impact in the world.
Right. Thanks, Kamarul, and thanks, Jumaya, Mohammed, and Huda for sharing. I think personally, I'm also very inspired. I really just started my business 1 year ago, and a lot of you started it before I even, probably when I just entered university. I've always actually was very interested in the startup space, and I saw myself there, but actually not as an entrepreneur. It wasn't until I actually went to and did startups under the co-founders of different companies that really got me inspired to be the agent of change myself. And really, I think, yes, definitely it's about execution, but it's also about the conviction for you to be the agent of change, how the world around you evolves. There's policy, and then there's basically businesses. The fastest agents of change can really move the needle within just a few years. And personally, for me, the one thing I really am passionate about is really mentoring, the ability to sort of empower the next generation. And I think that's what drove me personally to build Kinobi. And for me, it's the alignment with the passion and the vision for what we want to be. We don't want any student to be left behind, regardless of school, country, city, province, socioeconomic status. We want all of them to have a good transition from campus to careers. That built my resilience. Whenever we're facing any setbacks, we always go back to the vision to be that agent of change.
How do you prepare yourself now for the next 3 to 5 years?
Okay, so I think this is more specific. The core fundamental concepts of your skills of running a business still remain, like profitability, core business skills are still the same. But what is different is basically how you apply it, and it's very industry based. So the industries are now shifting. So you'll see more bottled packet foods which are delivered and sold on retail because people are buying it online as compared to them enjoying it at the restaurants. So this is a radical shift. What you have to know is that you don't have to follow every single change. The thing with our generation is last time there was 3 ways of doing marketing. Now there's 10,000 ways of doing marketing. So you don't have to do all 10,000. You pick your niche because we picked our focus. And sometimes when you pick your focus there, it is sufficient. When you start small, you're trying to make enough for yourself, and then you're trying to make enough for your family, and then you're trying to make enough for your staff and your team, and it grows that way. Because as a small business owner, when you know more about yourself, you will know where you excel. Because if you don't know where you excel, you don't know yourself, you don't know what you want, then you start following so many people's advices, right? But everyone that's giving advice is giving it from their own perspective, which might not be for you.
Okay, I'm just going to start first to help you understand what VUCA is. I think maybe for some of you, this is the first time you're hearing this term. Now, VUCA is for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Volatility basically just means that you want to try to find ways and how you can keep yourself abreast in today's day and age. And of course, at the same time, find ways on how you can overcome key challenges with knowledge that's already available. In terms of uncertainty, there's a lot of things that we cannot predict. COVID-19 is the best example of how we cannot predict this. And then we have complexity, is when there are so many different parts, moving parts basically. It becomes so complex. To overcome this, you need to restructure the organization that you are currently in to build up key resources, to keep yourself updated with the new things and find ways on how you can stay afloat in your business. And of course, ambiguity. There are a lot of things that has no precedence. Means there are a lot of things that you've never heard before. The key to this is always about experimenting, trying new things, and being open to learn from those trials. It was an enactment of a journey that brought me towards this whole entrepreneurship path that shaped me to be where I am today, where I started to look at people, the passion that I have, and it's making profit. And that's the whole important reason behind why we want to start businesses in the first place. We want to also create impact and see if we can create change in the world. And as a bonus, earn money at the same time.